文群。 Ndongeni. Good afternoon, Ndongeni.
Ntate Motsamai ke me o kae o ntse ya hodimo le tlase dula sentle
Nna ke dutse sentle.
o montle khona ya ngono ya hodimo le tlase ngwana wa gago gae
A kere ke gakgamadiwa ke Ndongeni.
Recording in progress.
For prayer and meditation. Thank you. You may sit. Honorable members, before we start, I would like to recognize the delegation of from Georgetown University in Dakar. Some of the delegation are students. Can we welcome them? Thanks, honorable members. Students, you are welcome to NCOP in South Africa. Thank you. Honorable delegate, before we proceed, I would like to remind delegates of the rules relating to the visual and hybrid meeting and sitting. In particular, sub 21, 22, and 23 of Rule 103, which provide as follows. The hybrid sitting constitutes a sitting of the National Council of the Provinces. That the delegate in the hybrid sitting enjoy the same powers of the and privileges that apply at the sitting of the National Council of Provinces. That for purpose of the quorum, all delegates who are logged on the visual platform shall be considered present. Delegate must switch off their video if want to speak. That delegate should ensure that the microphone of their electric device are muted and must always remain muted unless they are permitted to speak. All delegates in the chamber must connect to the visual platform as well as insert their cards to register on the chamber system. That delegates who are physically in the chamber must use their floor microphones. That all delegates may participate in the discussion through the chat room. In addition, I would like to remind delegates that the interpretation facility is active. Permanent delegate, special delegate, SALGA representative, and members of the executive on the visual platform are required to facilitate access to the interpretation services. Permanent delegate, a special delegate, SALGA representative, and members of executive in the chamber should use the interpretation instrument of their desk to access the interpretation facility. Honorable delegate, in accordance with Council Rule 229, there will be no notice of the motion or motion without notice. Honorable delegate, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the Minister from the Social Service Cluster, especially the Minister of Human Settlement and the Minister for Sport, Art and Culture, permanent delegate, MECs, and all special delegate and SALGA representative to the House. Further, I would like to remind delegates that in terms of Rule 229 of the Council rules, the time for replying by the Minister to the question is 5 minutes. Only 4 supplement questions are allowed per question. A member who has asked the initial question will be first to be afforded an opportunity to ask supplementary question. Can the member silence the phone, please? We are disturbing. The time for asking a supplementary question is 2 minutes. The time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. The supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. Honorable members, I will now call on the Minister for Human Settlement to respond to the question. The question is question number 208. Asked by Honorable S. Sheikh for 5 minutes per response to question. Honorable Sheikh as follow-up question, 2 minutes. Honorable Minister, please respond for 4 minutes. Honorable members. Before the minister starts, I want this to be recorded. The 4 minutes is in the guide, but I'll change it because the proper minutes is 5 minutes, not 4 minutes. So it has been corrected. It's 5 minutes, Minister. Honorable members, I would like now to ask the Minister to respond on the question that have asked by Honorable Sheikh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, honorable members and viewers at home. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge our visitors from Georgetown University in Qatar for being present and have been part of this session. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, the question. Thank you, Honorable Sheikh. In 2021, the Department of Human Settlements and the sector took a decision to unlock all projects, or what we call unblocking of projects that have stopped for the period of 3 financial years, namely 2022-2023 financial year, 23-24 financial year, 24-25 financial year. A blocked or incomplete project is defined as follows. A project with lack of progress, whereby the first progress payment was made. However, no progress have been made for a period of at least 12 months. The blocked or incomplete project includes service sites and houses at different levels of constructions, either on slabs, wall plate, roofs, etc. Over the years, experience has taught us that human settlement projects get blocked or unfinished for various reasons, which include but not limited to the following. Poor performance of contractors, some of whom would have abandoned sites, lack of bulk infrastructure and link services, illegal land occupation, geotech variation, construction mafias, and community unrest. The diagnostic report revealed the following. As of end of June 2022, there were 3,445 blocked projects that we had identified. A total of 2,872 of the identified projects needed to be closed off once provinces concluded a reconciliation process that ensured that all the targeted outputs are satisfied. With the status of the 2872 project clarified, the National Department of Human Settlements, working together with provinces, reached a consensus of unblocking 192 projects, and those are at various stages, and we are monitoring. I must highlight, honorable members, for ensuring that houses given to citizens are of good quality, the National Home Builders Registration Council ensures that all BNG projects are enrolled with them. If the NHPRC identifies an unrolled project under construction, the project is immediately stopped. Furthermore, the NHPRC conducts quality assurance in all BNG projects and issues an enrollment confirmation letter. The process involves the assessment of geotech, investigation, report, foundation design, house plans for completion, and also ensuring that specifications are correct. During construction, the NHPRC inspectors conducts a minimum of 4 inspections at the following stages: at foundation level, superstructure, practical completion, and stormwater. Once the house is completed and complies with all the technical requirements, a final unit report is issued by the NHPRC. The final report confirmed that the house or the home has a 5-year structural warranty, and we are currently happy that the consumer bill is being finalized by the NCOP because it strengthens the work that is being done by NHPRC, and we're hoping that as the work continues, it will be approved so that it can protect our consumers from those who are doing wrong or even the risk of having compromised houses given to them. And we are looking forward to this as it will go a long way in the sector and confirming the quality of houses that we have committed to our citizens. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Sheikh.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your response to this question, which I think was very comprehensive. As the Honorable Minister has also alluded to some of the challenges with regard to deficient performance of some contractors. Minister, you may be aware of allegations that such contractors have received payment while they have not completed their work. And in instances where such cases are being reported or detected, Honorable Minister, what is the plan of the department to recover the money for the work not completed? Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Member Sheikh, for the follow-up. Indeed, there are instances, as I said, that there are various reasons why you'd have projects not being concluded. And one of them could be the issue around contractors who do not finish their work for various reasons. In cases where we've seen that definitely it's because the contractors have done wrong, we also work together with law enforcement agencies to report. An example, recently I visited Free State in Machabeng area where we found several projects that were not completed, and also, but we've been able to spend a lot of money. You find that the project is sitting at 60%, but 100% of the money or 95% of the money has been spent. We compiled all those reports, forwarded to SIU for further investigation, because by law, you are not able to start recovering the money, or we do not have the authority as the department to institute a process of recovering the money without law enforcement agencies. So it is through law enforcement agencies, through SIU and their other agencies where they are able to take money from the companies or even freeze the assets of those companies so that we can be able to recover. So we always compile that report as the department where we find the information and send it through to SIU for them to do further investigation, determine who was wrong in the process, and therefore as well institute legal processes. But where as well they also are able to give us as the department or whether the provincial or even our own entities, an example with Talana incident where they gave us names of officials, for example, in the HDA, that we were able to start the process of disciplinary process within the institution. So we do take processes and also consequence management, but we've got to follow the law and follow the procedure so that there are no comebacks or even people getting away because of just technicality in the process. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thanks very much, Minister. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Minister, I would like to know, when will companies as well as individual shareholders of those companies be blacklisted and placed on a transparent database that disqualify them from doing any business with any government department or government-owned entities that is guilty of building substandard houses or not completing housing projects? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Smith. I think we are on the same page there. We want to see the companies that have done wrong to our citizens and taken the money facing the consequences. Unfortunately for us as the department, we do not have such powers. So what we have done, for example, in certain instances, and I can make the ones that we had to deal with in the portfolio while I'm here, and the Dalana matter, we reported the matter to National Treasury so that they can be removed from the central database and be blacklisted. The process takes long and it's a bit complicated. And what we have requested is that can we find a better way or even amend legislation or some of the regulations so that it makes it easier for such companies not to receive business in the state. And it takes long even for me to receive such feedback that they have been blacklisted. So we did through HDA, right, relating to the companies that were involved in Dalana, to say these are the companies that are before court through the SIU. And currently there's recovery of the money, but we want to ensure that they do not do business. So you do find them sometimes, and then you succeed in terms of asking for them to be blacklisted through the central database, but sometimes they can be able to go into some of the areas and do business. So it's work that we have to do collaboratively between ourselves as the department or other departments that are facing same challenges, National Treasury and law enforcement. I think that, and part of what we have to do is to look at the legislative gaps that exist so that we close them, especially as members of parliament, so that those companies do not continue to get away with murder. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Minister. Honorable Mlesan.
Thank you, Chair of the House. Minister, our people have for years had to endure lack of housing, and in instances where attempts are made to provide housing, it is of poor and substandard quality. What reasons lie behind the persistent lack of planning and poor implementation strategies displayed by you and your department? And which strategies have been put in place to engage key stakeholders, such as state-owned enterprises, to unlock strategic parcels of land which are suitable for human settlement? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
On a point of order, Chair, in terms of standard processes in chamber, if you can just remind members not to walk in front of a member when speaking, between the member and the chairperson, because the member right in front of me, while I was still busy speaking, walked straight in front of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Hope we've got duty whips here that they must do that work. Thanks, Honorable Member. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for the question. My apologies, I missed the name. Let's start here first. It's not correct to generalize that we've not done work across. There's been quality of houses that we've handed to communities. There's been quite good houses that we've been able to give with decence. Actually, right now, as we speak, we're giving houses with solar panels, in rural areas, we're giving in even with water tanks. And many of them have been done very well. I can go to Limpopo. I've handed over quality houses, Mpumalanga, all provinces. We do have, however, incidences where you have contractors that did not finish the work because of either poor quality, where they've done wrongdoing. And that's why I'm saying, let's not generalize, because there are good contractors that have delivered on their mandate and within time and within budget. Now, with the issue around the strategies in place, one is that we do monitoring and evaluation across the country. We do monitoring evaluation as we visit provinces to check on sites and intervene immediately. Two, through MINMEC, we do monitoring of projects to see how far they've gone and what needs to be done if there are challenges. Number three, through NHBRC, we do quality control and assurance. Where there are problems as well, we do deal with the issues. And then because we have now even come to realize the gaps that exist with the quality assurance and the work that needs to be done with NHBRC, that's why we introduced the Consumer Protection Bill to Parliament, so that it enhances the work that we are doing around that area, so that even when people are privately building, they can be able to face consequences. So we are tightening where there are gaps and also ensure that there are consequences and no one gets away with it. So that's why that bill, and that's the work that we have done. Now, on the issue of acquisition of land by state-owned entities, for example, what government has committed is that in the phased-in approach that work is being done by Public Works, is that they've identified almost at the beginning 14,000 hectares of land that needs to be handed over to Department of Human Settlements for building for people. We currently in the phase, they've handed almost about 2.6 hectares, and there are various stages in terms of development. We'll continue to work, and that is the work that we are doing. Public Works identify all the land parcels. We don't have to go to each and in every individual state-owned entity or department or municipality. They are doing that on our behalf, and we're hoping that as we continue, we'll be identifying more so that we can build for the citizens of this country, as we committed in the Freedom Charter, that there shall be security houses and comfort. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Detroit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, you did speak to the blacklisting of contractors. Honorable Minister, but I want to find out, were there any MECs or HODs of the department reprimanded or disciplined in provinces where these housing projects were unfinished or where substandard quality housing was placed? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Detroit. No, we've not had an incident where there is a need to reprimand an MEC or request for an MEC to be reprimanded, nor have we had an incident that requires for an HOD to be reprimanded. While both of them or individually, MECs are governed by different legislation and also accounting to the premiers. We didn't have to report any MEC for that. Neither have we had to deal within the Public Service Act with any HOD. But what has been the case, for example, we do not have a direct HOD that has been involved. But where we have had, for example, officials would find that they are currently, an example is in the Free State, which officials are currently before the courts for particular work that has not been done within the human settlements. And we are grateful for law enforcement agencies to assist us with that regard. And again, officials, for example, I made an example of HDA, where SIU referred officials to us for DC, which we did undertake that process through HDA of officials within, but neither of them were at the level where you can say it's a CEO or even at board level. So it's officials at the lower level who are involved in procurement process or in terms of project management that you find that they are mainly involved and evidence is tangible against them in that regard. And those actions continue to be taken. And that's why this work is important for us, because we also call for public to work with us. Because some of the things we would not know as a department or government, but if communities, I always say, if communities are aware, they must work with us together so so that there is zero tolerance for corruption and malfeasance within the state so that we can continue to deliver as expected by our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Minister, Siyakuba. Then the next question is 214 that have asked by Honorable Smith. 214.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks, Honorable Smith, for this. I think it gives an opportunity for me to clarify what has been in the public domain misconceptions. On the 8th of August 2023, I addressed the inaugural community scheme on boot services in Daba and called for transformation in the community schemes economy. The speech is available on the website. It was live streamed. Verbatim, you can find what I've said on record. I've received complaints, Honorable Member, from residents in the gated communities about lack of transparency by some of those who serve in this body corporates, who give business opportunities to their friends and relatives. I've called for transparency in how scheme sources various services and provide opportunities to SMMEs who live in those gated communities. Surely this must be supported by everyone who understands the prescripts of the Constitution, which promotes equal opportunity for all South Africans. We must also not run away from the fact that our economy remains skewed where majority of the wealth is in the hands of 4% of the population of this country. That majority of South Africans, because of the injustice of the past, remains closed out from participating in the economy. Transformation of our economy is important and critical in order to protect and sustain our democracy. BBBE as a policy remains one of the critical tools to ensure there is a redress of the past injustices and therefore should not be regarded as a tool that is illegal or irregular. Advocating for transformation through or using BBBE must not be also regarded as advocating for corruption, as this is a wrong perception that sometimes suggests that corruption and nepotism only happens in the state and not in private sector. As earlier indicated, the outcry of nepotism and corruption in the schemes is what led to my call for openness and transparency of this subsector. In my speech, I went on to elaborate that 27% of the total value of residential property in South Africa is from organized communities, which means that community schemes are significant in the sector that I am leading. I further indicated that when you look at management companies across the country, they remain few and untransformed, and requested that the deliberation look at this matter and make proposal of intervention to change the current situation. We need to bring awareness to many residents who live in gated communities so that they know their rights, their powers, so that they can help us challenge the status quo. It is against all of this above that I make a call today again, and that I made at Indaba, that we have to advocate for transformation of our economy, but most importantly, advocate for transparency and also for accountability, whether it's in government or in private sector. We have to do this all so that we can ensure that we deal with poverty, unemployment, and inequality in this country. We will not know that we have achieved our objectives. We will know that we have not achieved our objectives in transforming the economy of this country as long as a Black woman remains the face of poverty in this country.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. As the Minister is using this opportunity to clarify on a statement, I would like the following to ask Minister, notwithstanding the fact that the department has confirmed that there is no record of a decision to substantiate your irresponsible and uninformed statement on the 8th of August to capture gated communities. Will you use this platform today to apologize to the nation for making a misleading claim about non-existing policy? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Smith, I don't know which department you are talking about that has confirmed. I'm leading this department. I advocate and speak on behalf of this department. I'm the chief spokesperson of this department. And I am saying to you that there's been complaints of nepotism in the gated communities. We have several of them under adjudication. We have several of them at the courts as we speak, at the High Court. Whether it's in terms of the policy, yes, we are looking at the policy. That's why we are calling for the amendment of the legislation now. There's no apology. We can't promote nepotism where a person who sits in a board of corporate in an estate appoints their children. There's another one in court where the estate in Pretoria, the person has been sentenced. And unfortunately, it's a 70-year-old who's been sentenced for scrupulously taking money off body corporate. There are many examples I can give you. They exist and people are tired of it. They are looking from us to give direction and leadership. Now, this is what we want to do. In that meeting, because it was the first in Daba, I said to them, you are here as people who are existing in this. Because we work together with our stakeholders, we partner with them, we listen to them, we respond to what they are raising. I said to them, these are the concerns that exist. You have asked us to change the adjudication process because you are feeling that is not transparent, is not helping you. Part of what we will do now, give me your proposal so that as the minister with the authority I have, I can put regulations so that we can do. So that's the process where we are, honorable members. Where does the power lie? In the act that gives the minister the power to do regulations. And we will be doing regulations to control what nepotism that is happening. Every SMME in those gated estates, whether it's for cleaning, whether it's for gardening, they must get an opportunity. It can't be because I sit in the body corporate, I go and bring my son who doesn't even know what to do. Those are the experiences, real-time experiences in those gated communities. And because we govern everybody in this country, even in those gated communities, we have an obligation to provide for regulations, provide for policy, but also protect the most vulnerable. And that we shall do without fear or favor.
Second follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable Mohai. It was supposed to be Honorable Todovu, but I've been advised that Honorable Mohai is going to ask the follow-up question. Order, honorable members.
I'm honored, House Chair, to do the follow-up question. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, we implore you never to be apologetic about this position. You have just said to the country now eloquently, and also which encourages us as members not to make reckless statements without substantiating them. It's important in our exercise of oversight that we really unearth more information so that we act as a responsible public representative. It doesn't require rocket science to know and appreciate that body corporates are by law juristic persons and are therefore bound by these provisions. In fact, the critical question that should matter is, how does the department envisage translating this into a coherent national policy agenda as a matter of urgency? I think, Minister, you have really shared a very useful information, I must say, once again. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mohai. Indeed, we are looking at, firstly, to make stopgap measures in the current process to ensure that the matter does not continue, as we said, by law currently. In the CSOS Act, it does give the minister the power to intervene and pronounce on regulations that needs to be controlling the sector. And in terms of long term, we are currently finalizing our white paper policy on human settlements. That is going to go into the cabinet process and it will go for public comments. One of the areas is to look at broadly around transformation, but ensuring that we have subsectors that are sustainable, are actually transparent and actually accountable. Every institution that is within our sector, whether within the state or outside the state, must be an institution or a body corporate, if we're talking about them, that is transparent in their manner of operation, but also accountable to the people that they are serving. And in that process, we are looking at also including that part as part of our process. And then finally, it will come neat to the amendment of the CISOS Act. And this will be the long-term work that we will do. I must assure honorable members, as this government, we've always emphasized the importance of public participation and ensuring that we do what is engagement with the public. And that's why this conversations was held at a conversation, stakeholder engagement and indaba with the people who are in that sector. It was not done in the streets somewhere. It was not done outside the stakeholders themselves. It was a statement that was calling for the subsector itself, the stakeholder within that subsector to reflect, because it's important as we travel this journey in terms of our work, based on our experiences, that we reflect on what we are doing, whether it's in the best interest of those that we say we serve. And the body corporates are not exempted from this. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable Khatebe Pungane.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, in relation to your statement about the need for economic transformation to take place in the community schemes economy, you also stated that the transformation of the managing agents in this sector remains critical. Considering this, I would like to know what measures your department has in place to ensure that managing agents are adequately capacitated to mainstream the cultural diversity agenda. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thanks, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khatebe. What we are doing, we've set aside funding within the community schemes organization, CISOS, so that we can be able to capacitate in terms of training and capacity building for the management organizations that want to operate. We do believe that this will go a long way. There's been resources that has been set aside, but we believe that it has to be conscious decision that we drive in terms of engagement with the sector, but also ensuring that those who believe in building a united South Africa are working with us, that is not only government alone that does this work, but also broadly as a sector. So there is resources that we have set aside. Currently, the engagement following the Indaba is continuing. We would want to see more registration of companies, but we'll provide the training and capacity building, support them so that they can be standing and also become sustainable in the future. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is Honorable Lehihi.
Whether the minister agrees that both BEE and the tender process have dismissally failed in transforming the conditions of our people, as there has been no tangible or visible changes of economic ownership in this country.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The danger in engagement is when you generalize. Most of the time it helps when you are able to specifically say, in this area there's been failures. BEE might have its weaknesses, but it has not generally failed. I can stand here as minister in various portfolios and the work that we have been able to do, having been taken to court to fight for transformation of the economy and in those sectors, that I do know that it has afforded majority of those that would not have participated in those sectors an opportunity to participate. If we go in terms of here, even in this portfolio, when we look in terms of the budget of human settlements, we are able to set aside 40% for women who participate in this as part of redress. This, in terms of rand value, is 11 billion rand for financial year. So it's those policies that allow us and enable us to be able to implement this set aside that recognizes and creates an opportunity to say there is an obligation we have as government to ensure that we transform the sector. So I'm not so sure, Honorable Member, which specific sector that you are referring to that has not been transformed. You can go to tourism, you can go to mining, you can go to many other sectors that exist in this country that in various areas BEE has allowed us to be able to transform. As I say every time, not everything has been perfect. Some of the issues, yes, we have learned lessons and there will be weaknesses, but does not mean that we have completely failed. There are leading examples that we can give you. There are practical examples. We can send you to projects. We can send you to businesses. We can send you province by province and list where there's been development and actually empowerment of the people who ordinarily would not have been able to be empowered and participate in the economy if it was not the government being able to intervene in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Siyaqhubeka futhi Minister. Now, siyaku question 209 that have asked by Honorable Bartlett, Northern Cape. 209.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Looking at the matter that we are dealing with, the department from a policy point of view has identified vulnerable groups, which include households that are headed by children and persons with disabilities as a priority. However, the gap exists in terms of implementation in various provinces. Persons who recorded their housing needs on the National Housing Needs Register are required to complete a housing subsidy application, which is finally approved by the MEC. The categories of prioritization in respect of each human settlement development project are dictated by the socio-economic conditions and demographic profiles of the targeted community that will benefit from the project. We have identified our database and application process to have weaknesses and not enabling easy of implementation of the prioritization as per policy. But more importantly as well, it does not allow us more clearer monitoring of the policy implementation. As a result, we took the decision and acknowledgement that we need one system of application that is transparent and easy to access by citizens, instead of two systems that we currently run. For example, we currently have a needs register. A person goes and applies at a municipality and then is put at needs register, later is evaluated and then put on HSS after being approved. We have acknowledged that we need one system that is transparent, that is easy to be accessed, that a citizen can also just punch in their number, whether it's a member of parliament who can go, punch in the number, ID number, and be able to see if this person has been approved and where is the person allocated in terms of the house. So what we acknowledge as well as the department is that the current HSS system or platform is actually an effective tool for us to use for grant management and tracking of projects. So it has been good in that regard, but not for beneficiaries. And that's why we took a decision that we have to change the beneficiary system and digitize our beneficiary system, which will be more easier for transparency, accountability, accessibility, but also it will protect citizens and ourselves from the process being manipulated. We've seen in various municipalities, after changes of elections, you find that the list of beneficiaries change. You have somebody who's sitting and say, I've applied for a house for so long, I've not received. But also because the qualifying criteria sometimes is misunderstood by various people, you find that people sit and think that they've been approved only to find that they've not been approved. So we would want want a system that is more interactive with citizens, that they are able to receive, for example, an SMS that says you have applied, the following documents are missing, or you have applied, you have been declined for the following reasons. And that becomes something that can build confidence in our citizens. Chairperson, we are anticipating that we'll deliver this digital platform before the end of the financial year this year. Thank you. The end of this financial year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Bartlett. Honorable Bartlett. Akakho siyaqhuba. Thatha. Qhuba.
Inkosi Chairperson. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your comprehensive response to this important question. As the Honorable Minister may be aware, there are also allegations of the defiant performance of some contractors, some of whom are alleged to have received payments whilst they have not completed their work. The question is therefore, in instances where such cases are being reported or detected, what is the plan of the department to recover the money for the work not completed? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The issue in terms of work that is linked to beneficiaries, what we have done, let me just take members a bit step back. Previously, you would find that when we allocated a person or a person is approved on the system, then the person is linked to a project. And over time, because we had these unfinished projects, we then realized that it's important for us not to link beneficiaries to a project, but finish the project and then finalize what is within that local municipality and that area, a list of beneficiaries who have registered. We verify them at that time and make sure that they can be approved. So in cases where contractors and previously that members of the community were approved and linked, and then we found that they were not actually allocated and contractors has been scrupulous. We have gone back, one, to acknowledge that it's not the wrongdoing of the citizens. Therefore, they need to be cleared within the system, verify that they have not benefited and therefore be allocated to a new project so that they can have a house. With the contractors, as I said in the last question, earlier question, that then we report them to SIU if they have been seen to have taken money from the state without completing the project, because the law enforcement agencies will be better placed for us to be able to deal with that. Thank you very much, Honorable Ndongeni.
Thanks, Honorable Member. Honorable Dedoit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, the original question speaks to child-headed households. Now, have any houses been handed over to children in child-headed households since the minimum age requirement is 18 years of age? And if a house was handed over to, let's say, a guardian of a child, what guarantee can be given that the house ends up with the child when he or she comes of age? And are there any measures in place to ensure that the guardian indeed hands over the house to them when they are of eligible age? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Dedoit. I think these are some of the areas that we recognize as gaps in terms of our application process, because once you say you want to deal with child-headed households, but your policy speaks to an adult receiving a house, that's where the policy gap exists. What we have been able to do, yes, we have handed. The policy does allow for minister to give a waiver in terms of approval processes, and also the MECs as well can approve waivers where we find that there is a child-headed household, they're below the age of 18, and therefore they need to be approved. They are approved with a waiver by the MEC, and that the family, the children can be provided with with a shelter. That is monitored. We link that with social development. We've done partnership with them to be able to work in terms of monitoring and supporting of those children. In terms of guardians, we've not had much of difficulties with guardians in terms of being able to get a house after looking after the children. Because if the house is given to a child-headed household, and it will be in the name of that child, not of the guardian, if the application has come through. So we've not had difficulties, but as I say, acknowledgement is that over time, as you know, our white paper is a 1994 white paper that we are currently reviewing, and we will be, before the end of this year, before December, have a 2023 white paper policy approved. That's what we, by cabinet for public consultation, so that at least before the end of financial year, we can have, by the time we start the new financial year, we have a new policy that we can work on that will lead to changing of housing code, that will lead to changes of the Housing Act to becoming a Human Settlement Act. And all those issues that we have identified as gaps will be able to respond to it. I mean, one of the other areas as we talk about the most vulnerable, which we have identified as a gap in our policy, it's women who are affected by GBV, who run away from the households. And in terms of our policy, once you are a female and you were married, let's say, for example, in joint household or joint bond with your husband and registered in that house, when you apply with us, you do not qualify to be approved. We recognize it as a weakness and something that needs to be closed so that we can address the issue of GBV and allow for women to be able to find shelter after running away from a difficult environment and protect them so that they don't stay in the houses where they end up being killed because they do not have a shelter. And this is one of the areas that currently we've agreed that we'll continue to do waivers, but we want to put mechanisms in place so that we protect the most vulnerable in our society. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next question is by Honorable Muletsane. The list in front of me. We don't have a question. Okay, let's move then to Honorable Boshoff.
Okay, there we are. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Minister. I heard you saying that this waiting list is reliable and transparent. This is on a national level. Does it adhere to a standardized criteria? And then I'd also like to know, does every province have such a list which is transparent and reliable? And is it accessible to anybody from the public? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Good afternoon. No, I didn't say that. The current system actually is not transparent and reliable. I must be upfront and honest. The current system, because it's sometimes you find it manually in municipalities, especially on beneficiaries. Hence, I said it's open for manipulation. We've seen it incidences where when a councillor, ward councillor changes, then the list changes. Somebody comes and reports that have been removed from the list. We've seen it when council changes, or even when political parties, different political parties take over a municipality, that gets to be changed. What we envisage with the new digital platform is for it to be able to address those all issues, address the issue of manipulation, potential manipulation, protect it and make sure that it is transparent, where all of us can punch in, whether as a member of parliament, a citizen says to you, I've been waiting for a house, you can simply ask them for an ID number, you punch it in, and then it can give you. That's the system that we are looking to deliver before the financial year end. And we do acknowledge upfront that the current system and where we are sitting, it's not something that we can say it is credible and hence want to change it. And that's what has led to a number of complaints and unhappiness from our citizens. Because as we go in on the ground in community meetings, a lot of people would say, I've been applied since 1994. I don't know where I am on the list. When you check, then you find that the person has not been approved, or you find that the person actually does not even qualify for a house. That's why we want this interactive process that can assist, even just to give answers and certainty to citizens, communication, and they know where they are standing in terms of the housing list. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Siyaqhuba, Minister. Siyaku question 218 that have asked by Honorable Makwala. 218. Makwala from Western Cape.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I do have a longish response. I hope I can be able to cover it within the time. The following interventions have been made in the past 12 months to eradicate housing backlog. In the past 12 months, the department has delivered 30,824 service sites and 38,632 housing units through the financial intervention sub-program, which includes individual subsidies, credit link and non-credit link, and the housing finance linked individual housing subsidies. This interventions has the IRDP phase 1, which includes planning and services, IRDP phase 2, top structure completion, emergency housing programs, people's housing programs, consolidation of subsidies. The delivery was also done through the social and rental housing intervention. This intervention has institutional subsidies, community residential units, and social housing. The delivery was also done through the rural housing intervention. This intervention was the rural housing communal rights, land rights, and farm workers assistance program as per our housing code classification of our program. During the period of 1st April to 31st August 2023, the department can safely say that we have delivered 6,072 service sites, as the Honorable Member has asked, and 13,605 housing units through the intervention mentioned above. The relevant details as per provinces, as the Honorable Member has asked, starting with the Eastern Cape. When we look in terms of our annual performance plans, you'd see that in the Eastern Cape, we have planned for social housing and social and rental housing. We planned to build 8,542. And in terms of rural housing, as a province is more rural based, we have planned to build 847,657 houses. We're currently monitoring that throughout the year, and the report will be available at the end of the financial year. Free State, we've planned social housing, social and rental housing. We've planned 36,135 units. And in terms of the intervention for incremental housing programs, it's 679,176 houses. Gauteng, we've planned incremental housing programs. It's 3 million houses. This because in terms of Gauteng, we have quite mixed development size. In KwaZulu-Natal, as a rural province as well, we have planned about 249,183 rural housing. Social and rental, we've got 129,529 houses. In terms of social and rental in Limpopo, 45,078 planned. In terms of rural housing, 632,985. Mpumalanga, social and rental, 104 planned. In terms of rural housing, 61,000 units planned. Northern Cape, current financial year, we didn't plan any social housing and rental. We are delivering what is currently on the ground, finalizing that. On rural housing communal land rights, it's 6,601. Northwest, social and rental, 5,000 planned. And for rural housing, 435,000 delivered. In the Western Cape, we have planned incremental housing program of almost 1.3 million houses. Chair, the details are available. We have various, again, in terms of financial support, supporting for NHBRC or budgeting for NHBRC enrollments, state asset maintenance ratifications, and title deeds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Makwala.
Greetings, Mama Ngwenya. Greetings to the Minister. Greetings to the members. Minister, land and housing are recognized as a primary source of wealth, social state, power, and security. However, in our country, Black people currently live in shacks and substandard housing. while whites continue to live in large, well-serviced and high-security suburbs, far from the poor township. This department has done nothing to change the condition of our people. Instead, it sits with the housing backlog, which has not been cleared.
Are you doing this from the
in light of this? Which time frame has been put in place to complete the clear housing block across the province? Minister, in some instances, the backlog is done by the local municipalities, changing the low-cost houses to pay to rent houses and limit our people to access these houses, like what has happened in George and Mossel Bay in the municipality in the Western Cape. As things stands, there is a huge problem looming in Mossel Bay. I invite you, Minister, to come with me to Mossel Bay to go and clarify the huge confusion happening there so that our people can be assured their houses were not changed wrongly or given to wrong beneficiaries. Thank you very much. Don't know who's speaking there, Mamango. You must protect me.
Thank you, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Honorable Magwala, this department has done a lot. Actually, this government has done a lot. We've built almost 3.6 million houses in this country. We are a government that provides for houses and subsidizes the less earning people, what we call missing middle. The current policy and our program in terms of housing does not exist anywhere in the world except this country. So it is this country, it is this government that has introduced the housing programs that we have. Whether you talk about first home financing, those who are working that are provided for houses and are subsidized by this government to be able to afford the payment in terms of loan. It's this government, it doesn't exist anywhere else. Whether you talk about the rental scheme, we do subsidize people so that when they work and stay closer to where they work, we provide for affordable rental. It is a subsidy by this government. It is this government that provides a house that has a land, water, sanitation, electricity, and a top structure to the value of 350,000. Nowhere in the world that such a citizen can be given such a property and asset in their hands, which is an economic asset. Nowhere else except this government and in this country. When you say we have not done anything, you need to be specific where there are problems. If you are to refer to issues around where people live, just an example, when we do an evaluation of the people who live in informal settlements, Honorable Member, I've been saying in this public, majority of the people who are in informal settlements are not BNG or RDP qualifying people. These are people who fall within the gap market. These are people who earn a salary above 3,500, and therefore they qualify within the framework and the bracket of rent to buy or rental space or first home financing. We have taken a decision as the department that there's a gap in terms of just broadly gap market that we need to address, not only for those who are first home buyers within our first home financing. We are looking at converting the National Housing Financing Scheme to be a housing development bank, human settlement development bank, which will assist in closing the gap in terms of gap market. There isn't such a thing that government has not done anything. Actually, go and look globally. We are the leaders in terms of provision for a shelter for the most vulnerable in this country, in the world. The issue of Mossel Bay we'll have to look at. I've been several times in the garden route. You'll have to specifically, Honorable Member, send me what are the issues there. I'm not aware of what you are talking about. The citizens, in terms of our program, as I said, we do have in terms of rental space for those who qualify for rental, and we provide for affordable rental space as government because we subsidize them. Not everybody who is in informal settlement actually qualifies by policy to be provided for PNG. That's why we must work together. One, stop illegal occupation of land and discourage it. All of us stand tall because it denies us an opportunity to do proper planning and develop and provide quality housing and insecurity and comfort for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, I would like now to recognize Honorable Lapskachen.
Good afternoon. I would like to know, how does your policy position prevent double dipping? Also considering the domestic violence cases that you referred to earlier on, and that individuals from one household, for example, husband and wife, don't get two different houses in either the same or even the different provinces. We understand that in the case of domestic violence, it's a difference, but excluding that, the rest of that, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. We have found in many instances where people do come to us and tell us that they've not qualified and they could not understand why they've not qualified. The system, when you have, for example, I always say this when I go to rural areas, and that's where you are able to test whether there's potential of double TP. You go to a rural area, you find a young man saying that I've gone to apply for a house, not young, very young, but a male person who says, I've applied and I'm told I do not qualify. When you look at it, you find that because they come from rural areas and the parents would have registered their home state with that child who is a firstborn child in the family, not being his own property, but the family. But because they've registered that in their name, when he comes to apply to us, then we find that he does not qualify because he's a previously owner of a property. So it's those instances and examples that tells us that the system does work to protect from double TP. We've had those, as I said, women who have applied, I was married before, and therefore I'm divorced now. I'm applying for an RDP house, and the system says I do not qualify because I've previously actually owned a property. It's those instances that you are able to see that the system is able to provide, to protect from a double TP. Where you do find instances where something wrong, like somebody who owns a house and then owns an RDP, it's pure manipulation of the system. It's human being that have been able to do that, not because the system does allow. So somebody will go and lie on the system, complete wrong forms. It's only when then you verify later, you find that actually the people didn't complete the various form. And that's why this digitization system, we believe that it will assist us because, for example, those who have a salary will be linked. We can be able to pick up with UIF that you actually have a salary, therefore you are paying a UIF. And as you submit the documents, it will be able to tell us if there's been activities in terms of provision of that, but also provision of bank statements. So we'll make some of the level of what needs to be submitted so that we can trace if the person has not been working or does not have an income that is sustainable, that then cheats the system. So it's those things that would work. And we do believe that with the advent of technology today, it will help us to be able to protect us as government and the state funds from all those manipulation. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Khatebe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister. In relation to eradicating the housing backlog, we are all aware that factors such as rising construction costs, slow release of land, and insufficient grant funding are compromising the department's ability to deliver new housing units at the pace and scale needed. Therefore, I would like to know what plans the department has in place to implement public-private partnership to eradicate the housing backlog. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. I think Honorable Hadebe, definitely the issue of high costs of building continues to be a sore side for our work. And that's why one of the things that we've done and I've done since I arrived in the portfolio was annually to increase the quantum so that it becomes something that contractors will be able to bear and they do not work without making any sense of profit, or even because the margins of building an RDP or BNG are very low. So you've got to be able to protect the contractors and not for them to leave site, because some of them left sites and handed over the project because they were saying the projects are no longer viable. And that's why we had to consistently increase in terms of the quantums annually so that the projects are viable. Secondly, in terms of the grant funding, we do agree that it's also limited, so we can do part of what we can. Now, what we have done currently, we have engaged with DBSA we've engaged with Infrastructure South Africa, and we are utilizing the NHFC to also source other funding partners for us to be able to expand in the gap market and the rental space. We do believe that that will help a lot in terms of expanding, in terms of the housing need. We do believe that majority of the people, for example, who are in the areas where we call them in the metros or urban areas and intermediary cities are not necessarily people that are the same who would need an RDP. Some of them are looking for apartments because they're looking for economic opportunities to be able to work. And that's why the idea and the work that we are doing with Public Works to say, let's identify the buildings that are abandoned in inner city, convert them into residential areas and repurpose them for rental stock and but for also gap market. They will be able to assist, and the partnership with private sector comes critical here. We have called for the National Treasury to actually amend the public-private framework, public-private partnership framework, because that will enable for the process to come quicker. Currently, with that restriction or constraint, it takes longer to be able to do public-private partnership, and it is a constraint. So we consistently engage, and we are looking forward to Parliament to finalizing the public procurement bill so that these areas of work that we are looking forward to doing will be enabled for us to be able to implement the work. So there's quite a lot of private sector that are looking forward to work with us, both in the country and globally. And we do believe that with that, we will be able to provide, especially in the urban areas and secondary city or intermediate cities as we see them. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Malika, ANC, Malika.
Thanks, House Chair. I'm taking the question. Let me appreciate the presence of the minister here. According to the various empirical evidence, Minister, lack of access to residential sites is one of the critical pull factors against the government efforts to address housing backlogs in this country. As these studies further point out, many people only require service residential sites to build their own houses, but this is not possible, not by the government choice, but due to the fundamental historical question of land dispossession in South Africa. In this regard, what are the plans in place by the department in collaboration with the Department of Public Works and other sector departments and private sector to accelerate the transfer of the land to our people? Thank you very much, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that. Definitely, the issue of apartheid special planning remains with us, and that's why you'd find majority of the people staying in the outskirts, far away from economic opportunities and spending almost 70% of their income on transport. And the work that we have started with Public Works, it's quite important because it helps us to identify properties closer to where people are working so that they don't travel. Currently, we're working with Public Works to finalize the transfer of about 11,000 hectares of land. Initially, it was 14,000. It has been reduced to 11,000 because others were found not to be suitable. So 11,000 across the country, transferred to human settlements. So far, 2.6 have been transferred to human settlements, and we are at various phases of working. We apply to municipalities for planning purposes so that they can be declared and rezoned for us to be able to develop various properties. Secondly, the work that we have started with Department of Public Works is to do an audit of all the buildings in the inner cities in terms of ownership across the country, at least starting with the metros, 8 metros. And out of those, we'll identify those buildings. Those that are owned by government will be the first ones that we target to repurpose and also ensure that we can do public-private partnerships with entrepreneurs that can run them, either for rental or also be able to participate in the economy as part of property developers. We do look at this as part of the critical areas. For example, if you look at within the city of Cape Town where we are now, majority of the people are coming by trains, by taxis, coming to the inner city to work. Remember, during the time, if you talk to the people at the waterfront, at the time there was a taxi strike, almost no shop in the waterfront or even services there had people to work there because they are traveling. So if they are closer to where they work, whether there's a strike or whether there's an activity that prohibits them to be able to go to work, they will be able to do because there will be a walking distance from the house, from the where they are working. And that's a critical work that we have to do, translating in terms of doing away with apartheid legacy so that you don't continue to find Black people in one area, colored people in one area, white people in one area. We have to integrate. We have to promote the integration of society. And in that we will be reducing inequality in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Siyaqhuma, Minister. Siyamanje question number 215 that have asked by Honorable Smith from Limpopo DA. 215.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Honorable Smith. We took the decision to conduct lifestyle audit on housing inspectors following complaints by members of our community. We believe that the integrity of our work must be protected, but more importantly, citizens who are beneficiaries of our services must be protected and assured that they will receive quality service. The lifestyle audits of NHBRC inspectors commenced on the 20th September 2023. It's a process that will take 3 months, meaning it will end November 2023. And as we speak, the outcomes of the audit are not yet available for us. And once they're available, we will process them and act on them. I must highlight further, Honorable Member, that we believe that lifestyle audit alone are not enough to ensure that NHBRC fulfills its mandate. Hence, the decision has been taken as well by the board and executive to do an evaluation of the skills of all the inspectors to ensure that they have the required skills and experience to fulfill their mandate, especially in this advent where we are. You find that some of the people have been employed long time ago, they've been there in the system, but have not been upgrading their qualifications, are not within the time that we do. We know that today we have such as alternative building technologies that inspectors will have to be fit to be able to understand how to inspect, how to evaluate the work, and also be able to protect citizens in that regard. So this is the work that we do and we continue to do. We're looking forward to those. And I'm grateful that when we proposed the lifestyle audit to the board, they were not resistant. I wrote them a letter to request for an audit of all the inspectors. They responded and started the process. And I'm looking forward to the outcome and the report. I can assure you, Honorable Member, should any of our members be found to be wanting, there will be consequences in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Firstly, we as the Democratic Alliance must welcome these lifestyle audits. I think it is long overdue. As you said that there will be consequences, do you know of any consequences so far? And if not, what will these consequences be? And will you also ensure us that these individuals will not be redeployed to other positions and other departments? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Smith. There is no opportunity for redeployment. They are employed in terms of their contract. Because we've had incidences where there's been allegations of corruption, that you find an inspector has been taking money on buildings. when the lifestyle audit comes, what we will do, we'll link the results of their lifestyle to the projects that they've been able to oversee. They become a trigger for us to be able to see if this individual has had excess of cash that they're supposed not to have, they have properties or assets that they're not supposed to have in their hands, and therefore that will lead to what we can assess. There's been instances where there's been allegation various against particular inspectors that was looked into. Others jump ship, leave completely the portfolio, not to come to us. And you know, by law, once the person leaves, you have no jurisdiction over them unless if there's evidence of criminality that you can go to the police. So most of the time at that time, you do not have evidence of criminality, but it could be something that around employment conduct that you can do a DC. Once they leave, you can't do anything beyond. So that's what we're intending to look at. We believe that in this work that we are doing, will encourage authentic work, will encourage issues of credibility. They'll start paying attention to what they do themselves as inspectors, but also we're trying to recruit even people of high quality moral and ethics. I've said to the entity and the board, I said, the vision of this government is for NHBRC to be a center of excellence. If it's to be a center of excellence, it must recruit qualified people, but people of high ethical standards that will be able to assist us. Again, I go back to the Consumer Protection Bill, which also tightens up work around even the inspectors themselves in terms of the work. But again, as I always emphasize, what is the problem most of the time is that we don't get to know about this thing. So we'd want to consistently say, through partnership with our communities, where they see these wrongdoings, it will help for them to report so that we can deal with them. It's good when I can receive a report to say, Inspector so-and-so in this area, they've done the following. Then you are able to tangibly deal with the matter, go investigate in that area and deal with that individual, because there are quite a lot of our inspectors who are good, who have done credible work and who are no nonsense takers, who've stopped projects, and sometimes their life gets threatened and we have to protect. So we've got to be able to separate the bad apples from the good apples so that our system can be protected in terms of integrity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Makwala, EFF.
Thank you, Mama Ngwenya. Following the audits, Minister, what intervention will the minister take to root out corrupt building inspectors and contractors so as to preserve finances and resources? And what action will the minister take against developers who buy their way with building inspectors? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. As I said, what we do where we find that there's been wrongdoing, we report them to law enforcement agencies. We've handed several files to SIU. As far as early as 2 months ago, I handed a file of several projects that are in the Free State, that there's been wrongdoings by contractors, and that is in the hands of law enforcement agencies. That as far as we want to go. I would not want to spend my time investigating as the Minister of Human Settlements. I want to spend my time focusing on delivering of the houses and human settlements portfolio, monitoring on the projects and ensuring that beneficiaries are receiving what is due for them. So that's why when we find areas of weaknesses, where we find allegations of corruption, when we find allegation or even activities that are not suitable for what we do and compromises our integrity and our credibility, we do report to them. There are several cases, and as I can say, some of the cases are already before the courts and people are facing consequences. So we're not talking about something that we are going to do. We're talking about something that we are doing in this portfolio. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Du Toit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, we know that there's a process that's followed. First, the lifestyle reviews, then the lifestyle investigations, and that the third portion is the lifestyle audits. Now, I want to know whose responsibility is it to ensure that the ethics officers do their work and ensuring that lifestyle reviews are conducted by verifying information submitted to the e-disclosure system and what room for error is allowed? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The work that is being done is done at various levels. For example, the board annually discloses their financials to the minister. We verify, and if there are issues of concern, we do call the board member to explain. And if there is a need for a board member either to recuse themselves from the board or actually leave themselves from a particular project or work that they are doing. We've had those incidences that we have done. At an entity level, then it becomes the board that oversees the disclosures of the executives, and also the executives then will see the entirety, led by the CEO of that state-owned entity, will oversee the disclosures of the entirety of the staff. It's not only the ethics officer that has a duty, but the accounting officer in every area has a duty to be able to fulfill that mandate. And myself, as the executive authority, what I do annually, as we do verification like we've been doing, we have meetings with the board to account for their annual work. And part of what they have to account is that, has there been issues of disclosure and how they have been able to deal with them. In that way, we play an oversight role from my side as the executive authority to ensure that that work is not undermined, but continues to be happening and with integrity that it's supposed to. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Ndongeni, ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, I rise on behalf of the African National Congress to welcome the initiative of the department on the lifestyle audit, which is in line with one of the President's State of the Nation injunction and the 55th ANC National Conference resolution in the fight against corruption. As the Minister has pointed out, lifestyle audits alone are not sufficient in the fight against corruption in isolation from other critical anti-corruption measures like whistleblowing and the strengthening of internal control and risk measures. In this regard, can the Honorable Minister take our people into confidence about our key anti-corruption measures in the department and the success and challenges in the fight corruption? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, Honorable Ndongeni, Honorable Chair. Indeed, it's work in progress. It continues. It's not something that you can safely say, I have achieved it. It's one that has to consistently, as you work, find loopholes and close in terms of management. We have received several times whistleblowers that would report on a matter. If it's a matter that relates to the entity, what I do, I refer it to the board to do the investigation and therefore provide a report within a particular time. We've had incidences, for example, in CISOs, we've had incidences in SHRA, we've had incidences in PPRA, and all those were dealt with. We investigated, the boards investigated. In instances, I would have received the reports. But again, where those others as well sometimes, then they jump ship and leave. But again, we've had where there's been DC processes and people actually being dismissed in the portfolio. So there's seriousness in terms of dealing with issues of corruption. But when we receive whistleblowing information, we do not take it for granted. We evaluate it and look at it. Yes, sometimes we find frivolous ones. And for example, you'd find a lot that when people are being disciplined or are asked to account in the entity, then they do not want, then they do whistleblowing. You've got to go and look at it and evaluate, but also still have mechanism of responding. For example, in NHFC, what we do, we have appointed an external service provider where people are able to report. It's registered. If it's escalated to me immediately, the email comes directly to me from the service provider, anonymous, not even being able to see who had done the whistleblowing, and then I'm required to respond within a particular time. Those are the systems that we have put in place, and we'll continue to strengthen our work around whistleblowing, protection of whistleblowers, but also ensuring that wrongdoings do not happen. And I can safely say, Honorable Member, with this work and taking this work serious, we've seen quite an improvement in terms of stability of the portfolio. We've seen a reduction of whistleblowing, but also improvement of ethical conduct and also just accountability on the portfolio in various entities and in the department. And I remain grateful for the boards that exist now in these entities because they've been taking their work serious and do not have a no-nonsense approach around corruption. They investigate and do not deal with issues with fear of it. They go and deal with matters and they actually institute consequence management. There are various examples that we can give. And that's why we are confident that over time, we're starting to see a positive output in terms of the work that we have to do, in terms of targets, but the quality of spending is starting to improve, but also the confidence of the people in the work that we do, because they are starting to believe that we are genuine about what we are doing and the mandate we have been given. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Siyakuba Tumbu. Now we are going to question number 210. A question that have asked by Honorable Mtetwa, KwaZulu Natal, ANC. Nyambos.
Ngiyabonga, Nyambos. The human settlement sector utilizes the concept of upgrading as opposed to eradication, and I'll explain. The process of eradicating would imply that the state must get rid of all informal settlements completely, whereas the act of eradicating may not be easy given that the state must operate within the available resources, but within the prescripts of the Constitution. Currently, the resources allocated are not sufficient to eradicate what we currently have as all 2,700 informal settlements across the country, and I say counting, because each time we have challenges of new informal settlements emerging. Section 26 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa provides for a progressive realization of the rights of adequate housing. The upgrading of informal settlement program is supported through grants which are given to provinces and metro to be the implementers of this program. And as the national department, we are each year approve the business plans, then monitor the grant spending and the project implementation. The department has a policy with clear goals on the upgrading of informal settlements, whose key objective is to facilitate a structured incremental upgrading of informal settlements. Additionally, the program seeks to promote the development of healthy and secure living environment by facilitating the provision of affordable and sustainable basic municipal engineering infrastructure to communities via a three-phased approach. We took a decision that as part of the processes where they are informal settlement, first point will be to provide human rights services, such as, or namely, temporary water services and sanitation. Once the studies have been conducted, which we now move in, we will call it phase 2, or it's called phase 2, suitability of land, and therefore once it's approved that it's suitable for land and approvals by municipality have been done, then we move to put permanent services. This is bulk and reticulation. And they in this are named, we put water, sanitation, electricity, and roads. In some instances, this is where the state ends and citizens then later build for themselves. And other instances, then we move in as government to the phase 3 to provide for permanent structures of our houses into the communities. Our experience is that majority of the land where the informal settlements are located are not suitable for human settlements, and therefore necessitates the process of identification of suitable and purchased land. As we are all aware, the informal settlements are most of the time where there is no availability of land to relocate those citizens, and the land that gets found is sometimes far away from where the people are located at that point. This many times then necessitates for provinces and municipalities to appoint social facilitators to engage communities so that an agreement of where they will relocate to is agreed to, which most of the time takes long because sometimes these are marred by either the communities rejecting the identified land or resettlement land, or the receiving communities saying not in my neighborhood. So these are some of the challenges of upgrading of informal settlement. However, just to indicate, honorable members, as part of the medium-term strategic framework, the department has targeted the upgrading of 1,500 informal settlements to phase 3 and is shared nationally across all 9 provinces. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Nyambos. Mthetho.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, as you have correctly pointed out, the majority of the land where the informal settlement are located are not suitable for human settlement, and some, if not most, cannot endure the several weather conditions, thus exposing our people to inexplicable human disaster. Honorable Minister, would you agree that despite this persistence of landless and homeless as one of the burning legitimate grievances of our people, illegally land and occupation has been used as a political plot to undermine the rules of law for narrow political gains? Against this background, Honorable Minister, has the department considered national policy framework that seeks to mitigate against hazardous proliferation of informal settlement that puts our people's life in hazard and danger? If not, Minister, why not? And if so, what are the relevant details? And thanks for your elaborate answer that you have also given to this House. I thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Nyambose. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Mthetho. Yes, we do agree with you in terms of the challenges that exist. Firstly, in terms of homelessness and landlessness. However, as you say, the issue of illegal occupation of land is something that shouldn't happen. And I say this because majority of the time when you go into these areas, somebody has taken money from these vulnerable communities to be able to cut the sites. You hear of stories of somebody has taken 5,000, 2,000 from communities, and they leave them vulnerable in areas where their lives are in danger. We've seen in the disasters that majority of the people who either lost their lives or lost their belongings were people who are in informal settlements, because where they were located were either wetlands or areas where they were closer to rivers and they were vulnerable to disasters. So that's why we must all, as law-abiding citizens and people who love not anarchy in their country, but also who protect the state and also protect that we must have law within the country, that illegal occupation of land must not be promoted. We see even in some of the instances, I can name quite a number of informal settlements, where you arrive, there's a landlord who collects money from these residents, taking advantage of these vulnerable people, not because they do not have money. They have money, but somebody has decided to go and take a piece of land from municipality and take all of it. Now, what we have had a conversation both in the provinces at MINMEC and also with municipalities, and a call by municipalities, was that can I assist in leading in the conversation with the Department of Agriculture and Land Reform for the review of PAYA. PAYA, because one, its intention, yes, is good to protect illegal removal or forceful removal of people in acknowledging the past that we come from, but also what we used to see in the farm areas where people who are farm dwellers would be illegally evicted without an alternative place. But now we see that the challenge with municipalities in terms of this land is that people occupy this land, and if municipalities do not see these occupiers within 48 hours to remove them, then they have an obligation to provide alternative accommodation. But even a private sector, when you evict people after 48 hours, municipality has an obligation to provide for alternative accommodation. These are the weaknesses, and we do believe that if we can review PAYA and also have a conversation with various stakeholders, we'll be able to review this thing. We'll be able to address the challenge. I have an intention as the Minister of Human Settlement to convene a 2-day summit with the NGO sector that specifically plays a role in human settlement to particularly address these areas and see how best can we find solutions, because it is out of their court actions that we have seen quite a lot of trends that changed our landscape in terms of policy and the laws. And we do believe that working with them will be able to find solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Dlamini, EFF.
Chair of the session, can I take on behalf of her?
Over.
Thank you, Chair of the session. Minister, the apartheid government was deliberately in its spatial planning. In the May, the eradication of informal settlement would also mean there are certain areas that should not be exempted from establishing affordable housing that are closer to economic activities. Does the department consider all areas and neighborhoods to build housing, and what are the limits? Thank you.
Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. As you heard earlier on, I spoke about integration of society. Our belief as this government is that we should not continue with the apartheid spatial landscape. We must be able to ensure that we integrate people in terms of their color, their race, their gender, and their income. There's nothing, for example, I had a conversation with one of the estates. I asked them, as you have built this big estate, where are your workers staying? Because you have made them to stay in informal settlements. They are having you've not made affordable housing closer to this upmarket estate. And those conversations will continue with property developers, and they do acknowledge, many of them have started to ensure actually that they do mixed development, they provide for that area. And this is areas that we are believing that will be able to do PPPs. As they develop for private ownership, we come in, we do affordable with them in partnership and save in terms of the cost. So that is what we want. We don't think that there's an area where we can't build affordable housing in this country. We don't believe that there's an area that we should continue to segregate people, whether by income or by their race or gender. We do believe that what we have is an integrated development that we want to see. And that's why you'd see what we call mega projects. You'll find bonded houses, RDPs, rental flats, they are all at one place. And that's what we are advocating for. We'll continue to do in terms of ownership. Where it becomes difficult is where you do not have land. So we buy, and sometimes buying of this land becomes very expensive, because even our own people who are supposed to be progressive are not progressive towards government. They sell the land for 30 rand. When it's government, they want 90 rands. I'm just making an example. Therefore, it makes it difficult to access those particular areas. But we've been able to say where there is a need as well, the expropriation does apply. But as you know, by law, when the Minister of Human Settlement has to do expropriation without compensation or with compensation, must justify the process why you're doing it. It does allow for that, but you must justify that you do not have any land that is available by the state, but also that there isn't any other alternative except for me to be able to expropriate. And those are some of the things that we're broadly looking into. But the first point which we'll address is this taking over of inner city buildings, because we do believe that it will go a long way in integrating society and doing away with the current apartheid legacy of special development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Now, I would like to recognize Honorable Khatebe, IFP, Pungani.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister. As we all know, informal settlements are mostly established on land that is unused or otherwise marginal. It seems that what protects land from occupation is not a title deed, but what is happening on it. Land that is being actively used is very rarely occupied. Therefore, please briefly detail the process your department follows to acquire vacant land for housing purposes, especially in relation to the turnaround time period until construction can take place. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khatebe. In the cases of illegal land occupation, there are very few instances where you find a suitable land is the one that is occupied. I think I have one incident in Mangaung. The site is completed. We went there. We found that it was illegally occupied, but it was for human settlements. The municipality finished the process, put bulk infrastructure, but did not allocate. And we therefore said to them, they needed to allocate and verify beneficiaries against those who are there so that we complete. But that is one in a million cases. Almost all our informal settlements that we are currently doing an assessment on and we are developing, majority of them are in a land that is not suitable. And that's what makes it a difficulty. So it's not, they see our people, and that's why we've been doing a lot of consumer education, that they see with their eyes that this is a land that is suitable. And we've been trying to explain to communities that you might be thinking that this land is suitable, but only to find that when geotags are done, the land is not suitable in terms of either it's a wetland or dolomitic area, and therefore over time compromises the lives of citizens. But we've had incidences where we have gone to communities, talked to them to say you are in a not suitable land, therefore you need to move, and they would refuse. And that's why sometimes I've been seen as a bit heartless, because we've had to say to those communities, you are going to sign indemnity forms that protects the state, because I have an obligation to protect the state should anything happen to you. Therefore, you would know that you are responsible. One incident, we had a conversation with about 16 informal settlements in Western Cape, one of them COVID-19 informal settlements. We had received a report, and together with Wetland, we had received a report that those informal settlements are sitting in wetland and people will literally drown as it rains. We engaged the community, they've been refusing to move. And when the city as well and the province wanted to move them, they refused. Similarly, in KZN, I had such an incident in other areas. We then went and told the communities that we're going to get to signed indemnity. In Mossel Bay, we did get them to sign. In George, we got them to sign. After 5 days, when one house collapsed, they were able to move. In KZN, one community was staying inside the river. We asked them to sign indemnity form. When they saw that we were serious about them getting to sign indemnity forms, they moved. So it's those instances and various experiences that we have in terms of illegal occupation of land. Is not one size fits all. And we continue to work on them. As we say, we identify them, we go in, and we do believe that working partnership, one of the things going forward we want to do is to work with SANSA, a space agency that will be able to help us with the technology. We work with Google. We are approaching them, all of them, to help us just in geo-mapping of this informal settlements upfront, to be able to utilize technology to tell us how many are there, when can we move, where we move, and to fast track the process of identification. Last point is that we do need improvement in municipalities, because what becomes a headache is the planning process in municipality that does not complete. It takes forever for us to get sites to be approved and the lands to be approved in terms of the plans that we want to do for building human settlements. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Pattinson, DA.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much. I think you've touched a little bit on my question that I'm going to ask now, but I'd like you to expand a little bit on it. So illegal land invasions and land grabs are obviously out of control at the moment, and it's coupled with actions of some traditional leaders in their respective areas where they're setting out new stands without any regards for bulk infrastructure from local municipalities. So my question to you would be, how would the department address this matter in a human settlements policy framework? And you've set out in your previous answer quite a few items that you are implementing, but how will you, are all of those things in a policy framework? Is there a policy in place? And if not, will a policy be implemented? Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Other issues, yes, are already in the policy currently that we are operating. But in terms of the gap that we have been able to identify, the White Paper 2023 does close those gaps, as we will be going into public domain, and I hope members will look into it for public consultation after Cabinet approval. The issue that, Honorable Member, I want to take extensive conversation. It's the one around municipalities. When there's illegal occupation of land, municipalities must evict. Now, what comes back is that municipalities say we do not have capacity, especially those who are non-metros, because they don't have law enforcement capacity within them. So that's why the Buyer Act review will help to close that gap. So that's the policy, the other policy area that we'll have to do. You reflected on the issue of traditional leaders. I've been engaging with traditional leaders. Remember, in terms of our work, we have now identified the issue of permission to occupy as one of the areas that we recognize for provision of human settlements. But as you know, in traditional communities where it's communal land under a traditional leader, part of the issue is that it's within their land they can allocate. What we are looking at is partnership between ourselves and them and the municipalities to be able to do spatial planning properly, work with them to identify the areas that they can identify or cut for people. Minister Mzwalidi as well has convened another meeting with traditional leaders. We'll expand as human settlements the partnership that we want. Through the IMC of land, we've been working together, that is chaired by DP. We are working together to have this conversation and finalize. We're hoping that as we review the policy, this area as well, in the rural areas as well, will be closed so that we work in partnership. The traditional leaders themselves have acknowledged that they need our support and our help in supporting them, in ensuring that where they put their people is not in danger. I don't think they want to see people drowning. They want to see its lack of capacity, lack of facilities, and lack of the skills that are required, which are available within government, and we do have those. And we've committed to working with them to ensuring that we can be able to do this. In traditional communities and rural communities, there isn't much of illegal land occupation. You are finding that a lot in secondary cities, or what we call intermediate cities, such as Polokwane, Kimberley. They're not metros, your Rustenburg, those are Bombela. We call them secondary cities or urban areas, and your metros. So that's where we need to pay attention in closing down on illegal occupation of land. And those are driven mainly by migration of people. Migration from the SADC region into the continent, into the country, but also from rural areas into urban areas seeking economic opportunities. And that's why addressing it through this program, because we do believe that it will assist us holistically to be able to do with that. So the white paper policy overhauls part of or overhauls what we have been not doing correctly and addressing those, including around technologies, but new trends, looking at other countries, how they are doing it. And it closes all those gaps as we do. And you'd know that over policy has been old from 1994. Now it's that we're doing the review and we're almost done going to cabinet for approval. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we have come to the end of the question of the Minister of Human Settlement. I would like to thank the Honorable Minister for availing herself to answer the question.
Malibongwe, Minister, Malibongwe.
Malibongwe.
Must come to the house.
Honorable members, I'll now call the Minister for Sports and Art and Culture to respond to the question. Question number 205 that have asked by Honorable Ndongeni. Honorable Minister.
The Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, allow me first to congratulate the 2023 MTN champions, Orlando Pirates. Also allow me to congratulate a South African for his outstanding contribution for making history this past weekend, Nkosinathi Maphumulo, affectionately known as DJ Black Coffee. The provisions of resources of the Sports Federation is influenced primarily by sponsorship, which is often biased towards male sports. A recent study about accessibility to funds for women in South African sports highlighted that sponsorship mostly flow to dominant male teams, sports such as rugby, cricket, and football, as they have highly established professional male leagues. the underrepresentation of women in the public media, is argued from this point of view that traditional male sports have a large fan base. About 99% of sponsorship and endorsement go to male athletics and sport, while women earn relatively less than men for work of equal value. Men benefit from professional sport leagues and being able to follow sporting career compared to women who must find similar opportunities if they can secure international contracts. Remuneration disputes of Banyana Banyana brought this matter to the fore and to the public. The investment of women's football is meant to give federation a head start to build their brand to ensure investment by the corporate sector. This has started to realize benefits with football federations and Football Women's League securing a sponsorship for the league such as Hollywood Bets. We believe this support has contributed significantly to the success experience by Mamelodi Sundowns ladies and now Banyana Banyana. The ministry has started the process of developing a women in sport policy in consultation with key stakeholders, in particular SASCOC and other national federations. The policy, which is undergoing the next consultative phase of analyzing the implementation and costing plans, calls for a concerted effort by stakeholders to lobby for equality in media exposure and actions. To this end, we call on all South Africans to make sure that we participate as relevant stakeholders to professionalize Women's League, and not only for federations to adhere to amendments of Employment Equity Act, which guides legal redress to equality pay for work of equal value. In this instance, the department will continue to make sure that we continue to support women in sport beyond remuneration, but we deal with issues of gender and the gap that still exists. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Minister. Honorable Ndongeni.
Minister, Honorable Minister, as you have pointed out, the disparities between the salaries and benefits of male and female professional soccer players have recently captured by the national news headlines. And we appreciate the efforts of the department in terms of the initiatives that you have tabled. Based on the engagement with the Professional Soccer League and the corporate sponsors, what is the level of commitment and readiness to equalize gender parity in the professional sports and soccer in particular? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Ndongeni, we recently been engaging federations and corporate sector, particularly corporate South Africa, to make sure that we outline, not only do we deal with issues of gender parity, but we deal with issues of mindset, the issues of leadership. I've had engagement with federations, and we think those engagements are starting to bear fruits. Already, we have Cricket South Africa that have launched their Women's League. It is possible that other federations soon will launch their Women's League. And I think the issue of parity, therefore, is important to understand it in the context of policy of the governing party, but as well of government, that if it means we must enact a law to enforce parity, we shall do so, Honorable Member. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable D.R. Ryder of the DA.
Thank you, Acting House Chair.
It's called officer presiding in terms of the rules.
Yeah. Sorry, it gets confusing, sir. Good. Mr. Minister, the ANC's cadre that's been deployed to SAFA is Danny Jordan, and he had some terrible things to say during the brave stand that was recently taken by Banyana Banyana. Amongst other things, he blamed the players for poor timing. But Minister, after Banyana's Africa Cup of Nations win last year in 2022, President Ramaphosa himself promised to bring equality to the pay for our sporting heroes, regardless of their gender. Now, can you tell us, did Jordan miss the memo, or is he just continuing his abusive relationship with women? Thank you.
And your Honorable Rider, Honorable Minister.
The commitment as made by His Excellency the President, that commitment continues to be implemented. The point we make is that it goes beyond just remuneration. We are dealing with a mindset about issues of gender parity in the country. That decision and announcement by the President, as you can test now, the issues about your views about Danny Jordan, I will not answer them now because I don't think they are relevant to the question in the debate.
I think, Honorable Rider, you said something that referred to a person who's not a member of this House. Members who are not members of this House, who cannot protect themselves, should be protected. You said something about a woman referring to Dr. Jordan. So please, we should refrain from saying such things. We move now to the next follow-up question from Honorable Ms. N. Tafeni from the EFF. Honorable Tafeni. Honorable Molitsane, are you ready to take the question?
Yes, Chair of the session. Thank you, Chair of the session. Minister, you have partly covered me concerning the women's soccer. But will also this change be extended to other sporting codes such as netball and others? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Molitsane. Honorable Minister.
Thank you that I've covered you, Honorable Member. Yes, it will be extended to other sporting codes as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up on question 205 is from Honorable N.M. Hadebe, Bungano.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, it is a shame that your department still intends to make plans that will ensure equality between women and men in professional soccer decades after the enactment of the Constitution, which has enshrined equality to all in Section 9. Despite this, we still welcome these intentions. Minister, could you bring the country into your confidences to the time frame and guaranteed implementation of these collaboration plans and whether there will be legislative requirements on salary differences between genders? Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Hadebe. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Hadebe, it's a disgrace if you don't do anything about it. What is important is that, yes, something was not done, but now the President, led by the President, we are doing something in collaboration with a number of stakeholders. We are establishing a policy, for an example, on women in sport. We're in the phase 2 of consultation. And as soon as policy is adopted, you will see the ball will be rolling. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move to the next question by Honorable M. Baha, Gauteng DA. Honorable Minister.
The South African Football Association provided a 2010 World Cup Legacy closeout report, which provided a financial overview. That financial overview included, among others, how the money was spent. For an example, local and African non-organizations using football as a vehicle for social change. The organization used different intervention programs to develop and engage healthy lifestyle among its programs participants. This focus, among others, to HIV and AIDS awareness through testing and referrals for treatment, women and youth entrepreneur training, and training after school extra classes. A total of 40 organizations were funded since 2012, comprising of 20 South African-based non-governmental organizations and 20 implementing partners. According to the close of the report referred to above, the beneficiaries can be characterized as follows: 52 SAFA regions through grants, coaching development, referees development, administrator development, local football association through grants, KwaZulu-Natal Academy, National Youth Team Preparations and Participations, legacy bags, bursary for school and football administrators, and so on. It also says, the report also indicates that these are the areas that benefited from the legacy project. The Mount Elif Sports Ground in the Eastern Cape, the Edinburgh Sports Ground in Free State, Isikalo Primary School in Gauteng, Hluhluwe Sports Field in KwaZulu-Natal, Jenfers in Limpopo, Falls Rest Showgrounds in Mpumalanga, Monsiwa Stadium in Northwest, as well as Beaufort West Sports Complex in the Western Cape. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first follow-up question is from Honorable Baha Bele.
Masipulele, Chairperson, enkosi kakhulu. Minister, thank you for your response. But the trustees, including veteran soccer administrator Riali Dwaba and former SAFA President Elvis Shishana, are demanding answers from the scheme, Ms. Hiraki, regarding outstanding documentation on how the 2010 FIFA Legacy Trust Fund or finances were handled by SAFA. Now, Minister, the information in the public domain points to shocking abuse of money meant for developing our soccer players. At worst, this is corruption and embezzlement. At best, it is pathetic mismanagement. When will you suspend the leadership of SAFA or at SAFA, who were represented on the board of trustees, to allow for a full investigation? Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Baha. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Baha. As you are aware, that as a constitutional democracy, we can't, on the basis of allegations which have not been provided before me with evidence or people opening a criminal case of any wrongdoing. I cannot just act willy-nilly. As a Minister of Sport, no evidence has been presented before me by anybody to say since 2010, these are the allegations. I hear, I read, I watch like you. I can't act on the basis of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable Izet Njadu from the ANC. Honorable Njadu. Honorable Njadu. We move to the next follow-up question in the absence of Honorable Njadu. The next follow-up question is from Honorable F. Dutoit from the FF Plus. Honorable Dutoit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, I hear what you say with regards to the allegations that were made, but what measures will be put in place to prevent similar alleged mismanagement of funds in future, and also to ensure that if funds are mismanaged, that it will be recouped? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dutoit. Honorable Minister.
Again, I can establish measures on the basis of hearsay. And I think there are enough mechanisms to make sure that does not happen. But it cannot be on the basis of a hearsay. And I think if there is any allegation that the member refers to, let those allegations be brought before a relevant stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move to the next question. Question number 206, asked by Honorable Zobe, Free State ANC.
It is important to first emphasize.
Sorry. Oh, there's Honorable Mutsamai. I'm sorry. On the question 211. by moving to the next question.
Umami Wendlela. It is important to first emphasize that provision and maintenance of sport facilities in the country is a mandate that the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa assigned to local government. It is for this reason that funding programs of this mandate, which are Municipal Infrastructure Grant, MIG, and Urban Settlement Development Grant, are directly allocated to municipalities to, among others, build and refurbish sport infrastructure. However, the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture has also noted a concern of a lack of supply and maintenance of sport facilities. Notwithstanding these budget provisions, and has, as a result, intervened through securing a ring-fence portion of the allocation of sport infrastructure within MIG to be allocated as a way of ensuring provision and the refurbishment of sport facilities. Allocation through DSEC, Reinforce MIG, are done annually in collaboration with both the provincial government, Department of Sports, provincial departments of COGTA, and municipalities. Projects funded through this process are identified by municipalities themselves and are part of their ITPs and endorsed by Provincial Department of Sports. Some of new construction projects are either upgrading or refurbishment. In essence, there is such partnership between DSEC, provinces and municipalities to not only supply, build and upgrade facilities, but the refurbishment of sport facilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first follow-up question is by Honorable Nzube.
No, thanks to the Minister. As you may be aware, the Minister, that the neglect of these facilities continue to occupy the national headlines, with some regarded as white elephant despite huge financial investment made by the state. This raises fundamental question about capacity of local government to maintain these facilities. In this regard, has the department not considered the development of the national uniform model of maintaining these facilities in terms of the section 154 of the Constitution? Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nzube. Honorable Minister.
I think the intervention of the TTM is but one intervention that can help us to coordinate all spheres from national, provincial, and local government. I have no authority to comment much about municipalities. It's not my space. But I think it's important to make reference. Indeed, there are municipalities that are facing challenges. Hence, I think through TTM, we'll be able to make interventions necessary to make sure that the provision of sport infrastructure is adhered to and delivered.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable N.M. Hadebe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, you will concede that our biggest enemy as a country is not a lack of public funds, but rather it is corruption from public figures. What measures will be taken to ensure that corruption, fraud, and mismanagement of funds do not overtake this planned maintenance and refurbishment? Thank you.
Your Honorable Honorable Minister.
A number of engagement with various municipalities and provinces, again, through TTM, where we are in discussion with COGTA to see how much we can make sure that at a national level, ourselves as a department, we can directly implement some of the departments, again, to curb what you allege as enemy number one in the country, corruption. And I think through that engagement, we should be able not to make speculations, but decisively to deal with issues of corruption and make sure that we mitigate against corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Mr. M.S. Muletsane. Honorable Muletsane.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, apart from refurbishing and maintaining old sports facilities in the townships, how far are you about the issue of the stadium that was supposed to have been built in Orangeville in Metsimaholo municipality that reflects in the Auditor General's report of 2019, where an amount of 21.7 million was paid, but still no stadium to date to promote sports? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Muletsane. Honorable Minister.
This morning, we received the Auditor General's report of the first quarter, and there are a number of other reports that we received earlier of some of the infrastructure that has been left incomplete. We're dealing with that issue again in cooperation, in cooperating with a number of other stakeholders, including that municipality, including Polokwane, including a number of municipalities in the Eastern Cape, as well as in KwaZulu-Natal. So we are dealing with that issue to make sure that those contractors who are meant to do their work, they will complete that work on time.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last question on 206 is from Honorable M. Nana from the DA. Honorable Nana.
Honorable Chair, thank you very
Honorable
much.
Bishop.
Because of network problems, I will be taking it. Thank you. Good afternoon, Minister. Sporting facilities have been neglected. Are you there? Thank you. Sorry, Chair.
Honorable Nana, you can go ahead. Yeah, George. Well, let's come back to you, Honorable Bishop.
Thank you very much. Let's try again. Good afternoon, Minister. Sporting facilities have been neglected across the country in most communities, and this includes sporting facilities at schools. I'm aware of the conference recently held in Gauteng that focused on school sports. As your department is supposed to be the champion of sporting excellence, what is your department doing with the Department of Education to ensure the refurbishing of school sporting facilities? Thank you, Chair.
Your Honorable Bishop, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The phenomenon we have in our communities is that when a facility is built, the community has no ownership of that facility. And I think we must bring back a sense in communities of ownership. There is no government facility. It's a community facility. And I think the destruction of any facility is a destruction of a community. Part of what we discussed in the recent school in Daba was the partnership between the government departments and communities, because it is communities at the end that do not benefit, that themselves are destroying the future of their own children. Hence, the issue of partnership about school sport, community must play a big role in making sure that they protect those facilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move to question 216, asked by Honorable S.B. Lehihi, Northwest EFF. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, the lack of sports facilities in rural areas across all provinces is holding our children back, as sport at grassroots level is the foundation of sports. Do the interventions which the minister speak of also include
Honorable Lehihi, can you please allow the minister to first answer your question before you make a follow-up?
Hello?
Please allow the minister to. Please allow the minister to first respond to your question first, and then you'll make a follow-up. Honorable Minister.
The Mokwasi problem is big. The allocation of both urban settlement development grants and the municipal infrastructure grant to local government is aligned to a mandate of sport facilities conferred to this sphere in terms of Schedule 5B of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Grants established to finance sport infrastructure are not allocated to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture as a custodian of the sector, but to the Department of COGTA and the Department of Human Settlement, which are custodian departments for local government grants, prioritization of allocation of budgets to sport infrastructure projects in both MIG and USDG. MIG has been the main source or program of funding the provision of sport and recreational infrastructure and is allocated 5% of grant. Essentially, this means that Mahuasi Hills, a category B local municipality, must use 5% of its baseline MIG allocation towards sport recreational infrastructure. Allocation of sport facilities through MIG is based on 5% principle and not on budget requirement of the project of the project. A compromise was reached that only 300 million from the 5% of MIG would be ring-fenced and will be allocated to DSEC for municipalities on the basis of project requirement. The process to finalize this according to beneficiaries is undertaken in consultations with provinces for municipalities to submit technical proposals for considerations in line with prescribed template where only projects in the ITP are eligible. Based on an adjudication process, inputs from COGTA, provincial sport departments, and available budget of National Department will approve a list. The National Department of Sports allocates funding to provinces to the Mass Participation and Sport Development Conditional Grant. In recent national indigenous games held in KwaZulu-Natal, the Northwest Province had teams from Mahuasi that participated and won medals. The provincial department provided support with the preparations for their participation. The ladies football team, called the Scorpions from Mahuasi, participated in the Sasol League, is annually supported by the provincial department to participate in the Hollywood Bets qualifying games. Logistically, support was provided to a young athlete from Mahuasi who qualified for an international tournament in Mauritius as part of South African squad. The province has reported that later this month, they will be distributing attire and equipment as part of second round distribution in the service point. 4 codes of sport and 18 clubs for tennis, basketball, softball, and football will also be beneficiaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first follow-up question goes to Honorable S.B. Lehihi. Honorable Lehihi.
Chair.
Honorable Tafeni. Honorable Lehihi or Honorable Tafeni. Honorable Lehihi, your first follow-up question.
Okay, Chair. Is it 216?
Your first follow-up question, please. To your question.
Okay.
Your
Minister,
initial question.
the lack of sports facilities in rural areas across all provinces is holding our children back as sports at grassroots level is the foundation of sports. Do the interventions which the minister speaks of also include considerations for children living with disabilities as they remain forgotten by this ministry? Thank you.
One of the priorities which were adopted by declaration of the recently held school sport in Daba was that as we talk about bringing back school sport, the integral element of bringing back school sport is rural sport infrastructure. Some of the best excellence of our national teams come from areas with no infrastructure. For an example, Maweni comes from a school called Mkeula in Ekala. There is no infrastructure in that school. And yet, she became one of the stars in the recently held Netball World Cup. Bongim Somi comes from Hammersdale in KwaZulu-Natal. We have now decided, both of them, Bongim Somi, we have already built a facility, a netball court. We are now building a netball court in Mkeula, which is a rural area in Ekala. We will do the same to make sure all these facilities, they too accommodate people with disability, because these people are neglected. It's them who are making us shine in the international stage, and you have no infrastructure in areas where they come from. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable M.R. Baha.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I think you might have touched a bit on what I want to check with you. Municipalities and provinces do have Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. How effective is the working relationship between these spheres of government and the national government or department? Is the national department able to take stock of what is happening at these levels? And what does it do afterwards to assist where there is lack of capacity? Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Baha. Honorable Minister.
Our audit finds the similar problem in national departments, Baha, Honorable Baha, is that government departments inherently, they like to work in silos. You find that in national, you find that in provinces too. You'll find the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Recreation in the province has no relationship with Department of Education in the province. And yet, if you talk about school sport, these two should be talking to each other. Hence, we'll soon be signing an MOU with the Department of Basic Education with my cabinet colleague, Mamu Enji. The reason we delayed that MOU, we want to make sure that we add this element of how department and provinces can work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable F. Dutoit. Honorable Dutoit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, what is the success rate of sport development in rural areas, since history has proven that the majority of funds for sport development does not reach the children, the intended beneficiaries, since it is spent on catering and event coordinating, and can success be measured? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dutoit. Honorable Minister.
What we find in most provinces is underspending or no funding at all in rural areas. The first thing we must do, we must increase funding in rural sport development. What we find is not so much about catering, which is nothing wrong when there is a sporting activity that there must be catering. But we need to increase our funding to make sure that similar what we invest in urban areas is almost equal to what we invest in rural areas, including building rural sport infrastructure in rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up question on question 216 is from Honorable M.E. Jabalen. Honorable Jabalen.
Honorable Chair and Minister, I just want to check, as we try to level the silos to ensure that government departments in provinces work together, how do we, in that process, ensure that we don't reassign more responsibilities to municipalities who are having, responsibility of arts, sports, and cultural development to municipalities who are having challenges with implementing their own developmental programs? How do we ensure that we give them support without giving them lots of responsibilities that may choke them? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chabane. Honorable Minister.
You'll be pleased to know that I'm in conversation with Minister Tembi, the Minister of COGTA, to exactly deal with those issues. Because we realize we must not overburden the municipalities on some of the issues that we know they have no implementation capacity. And I think as soon as that conversation is beginning to bear fruits, we should be able to say in this area belongs to a municipality, because municipalities are not of the same size, and therefore their capacity to implement is not the same. This area belongs to a province. That we do as well with working together with federations and other stakeholders, because we don't want to give 20 areas of priority in a municipality, knowing that municipality will only be able in a MTSF period only to implement one. So that conversation between two ministers, we hope it will help us to achieve the intended results of implementing those programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 213 asked by Honorable Baha. Honorable Minister.
Athletics South Africa, as a national federation, has a responsibility to conduct talent identification, development, and progression to their high performance programs. where athletes are supported and prepared for individual and multi-coded international competitions. The South African Sports Federation, which is now SASCOC, has recently revised Operational Excellence Program, OPEX, which caters for high-performance athletes from various national federations, including Athletics South Africa. This program supports athletes that have demonstrated great potential through their international individual competition in preparation for 2024 Paris Olympics. The department also supports Athletics South Africa in terms of implementing their development and high-performance programs. Working with provinces, the department also supports sports academies, among others, to provide scientific support, conditioning, coaching, and preparing camps to the development talent athletes. In addition, athletics is included in a school sport and rural sport development programs being implemented by the department. These programs are aimed at creating a pipeline for codes such as athletics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first follow-up question is from Honorable M.R. Bacher.
Thank you, Chairperson. With reference, our athletes are traditionally of an exceptional quality. They are, however, failed by a department full of incompetent administrators, more interested in sponsoring super fans in France and ignore the requirements of the World Anti-Doping Code that could soon lead to SA participating as a neutral country and not under the SA banner. Now, the question, Minister, is our failure to win medals due to incompetence in the department, SASCOC, ASA, or one of the other sporting codes bodies, or to all of the above? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bacher. Honorable Minister.
I am grateful of South Africans who love their country and are patriotic to their country. I'm grateful of the work, the sacrifice they make against all odds. I'm therefore in full support of people like Mama Joy, who carry and fly South African flag, regardless of sporting code, sacrificing everything they have because of their love of their country. And I think it would be unfair to refer to them as nothing else, but somebody calls them the name that I won't repeat in this house. And it is that which must drive me with passion, that I must support such individuals who continue to make sure that they contribute to the mandate of the Department of Social Cohesion and Nation Building. As for other comments that you are making, I don't think they are relevant to this stage. I think it's political statements, but factually, I will continue to support everybody, regardless of creed, race, and color, who raise and fly the flag of South Africa, including Mama Joy.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable K. Mutsamai. Honorable Mutsamai.
Yes, Chair.
You can ask the follow-up question, Honorable Mutsamai.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, as a country, we have had to accept the sad reality that the ruling party does not prioritize sports. We know this to be true, as over the past 30 years, we have witnessed the lack of proper planning and financial backing provided to this sector. What initiative has the minister taken to grow and train athletes at an earlier age so that they may perform at the highest level in major international events? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutsamai. Honorable Minister.
Maybe I must take the trouble of inviting Honorable Member to some of the events we have. The upcoming events following the successful school sport in Daba is going to be in provinces. I don't know which province he will be when we host these provinces, just to indicate to him and demonstrate to him how much the governing party, his own party, the ANC, because I know where his heart is. He will appreciate how much we recognize and take sport seriously as a nation building and as a tool for social cohesion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable MN Hadebe Pungane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, what public-private partnerships with local community sports clubs has government struck to build on existing facilities and talent, especially in rural areas, to promote the access to all sports listed under the athletics banner? How will government make established infrastructure in the urban areas more accessible to rural athletes? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pungane. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much for that question, Pungane. We are convening a MINMEC in a matter of days. And part of the items in that MINMEC is a whole issue of partnership at a rural level, because we think that government, like I said earlier, we shouldn't create an impression that there are certain things that can be done by government only without other stakeholders. And stakeholders in rural communities, be they business, be they local people, be they local structures, play an important part in the development of rural sport. When we're talking about rural sport infrastructure, it is those people and stakeholders in those areas that must be involved. We think that that item will help us to enhance as we continue to go to provinces now, to make sure that we engage those rural stakeholders, to make sure that at the end, they participate in the development of sport in those areas. Thank you very much, Pungane.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up question on the question 213 is from Honorable EZ Njadu. Honorable Njadu. Okay.
Thanks, Chairperson. Minister, Honorable Minister, from the interaction of the department with key stakeholders in the athletic sector and based on the international trends, what are the key factors that had led to this decline in athletics performance? What is the plan in addressing these factors? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndongeni. Honorable Minister.
One of our analysis, Honorable Ndongeni, is that the administrative challenges that besetted the SASCOC over the past 2 years had an impact on the performance of our athletes. With stability now that you see, from a point of view of leadership and governance of SASCOC, we are beginning to see some improvement. That is part one. But secondly, there is anecdotal evidence that if we were to do a comparative analysis of South Africa and other similar economies in the world, you realize that countries with smaller number of national teams participating at Olympic level, for example, they seem to have much more bigger number of medals. And therefore, SASCOC over a period of time then revised and reviewed its selection policy in terms of participation. So there are lessons to be learned, and that is beside the high performance centers. But I think it tells us a story that if you focus as a country in sporting codes that you do best, instead of taking every code to Olympics, for an example, some of the countries that bring back huge number of medals is because they identify those sporting codes that they are good at and they invest in those. And I think we're beginning to learn as we go forward, as we prepare for Paris 2024. That's the France.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now come to the last question, question 207, asked by Honorable N.E. Ngosi, Mpumalanga ANC. Honorable Minister.
The National Sport and Recreation Plan and the White Paper on Sport and Recreation focuses on 3 pillars, namely an active nation, a winning nation, and an enabling environment. The department implements sport programs in line with the National Sport and Recreation Plan, which has paved a way for the development needs of sport in the country. The plan remains a guiding policy framework for funding and promotion of sport in the country. Funding is availed to provinces through mass participation and sport development conditional grant. which forms a greater allocation of financial resources in some provinces. For an example, in the 2023-2024 financial year, an amount of 603 million was allocated to the provinces through the grant. As a result, through an active nation pillar, access to sport and recreation opportunities is provided especially to previously disadvantaged areas, including townships. This is done by focusing in these three main areas that I've mentioned too. The partnership with organizations like Live Life and Sport for Social Change Network assist in expanding these opportunities. Further, the programs of entities also provide life skills and advocacy in the fight against gender-based violence. The successes have not only been without any challenges in the programs, which require us to still work on resolving, especially around the following areas: policy implementation, stakeholder management, transversal matters, resource mobilization, community sport, sport ambassadors, and others. They provide motivation coaching clinics within the school sport program. Sport ambassadors also serve as ambassadors in many of the major sporting events that South Africa hosts and participate, such as the recently held programs of netball as well as football. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first follow-up question goes to Honorable N.E. Ngosi. Honorable Ngosi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to your good self and the Minister and my colleagues. Honorable Minister, as you may be aware, various empirical studies have and continue to point the causal relations between the indulgence of youth in antisocial and criminal activities and the lack of sporting and recreational activities. We welcome the intervention of the department in this regard. But from a policy point of view, Honorable Minister, what are incentives for organized local sporting bodies to invigorate youth participation in sports? I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngosi. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Ngosi, thank you very much. The biggest investment and incentive is school sport, because it is an area of grassroots foundation where we are able to organize and mobilize young people at a very young age. If you're talking about social ills, if you're talking about substance abuse, that is a level at which we can successfully deal with some of the social ills we see in society. So the focus on school sport in terms of policy and focus going forward is nothing else but school sport. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable M. Dlamini from EFF. Honorable Dlamini.
Can you allow me, Chair?
Okay.
Thank you. Minister, whether such plans include promoting talent by creating schools of excellence that enhance talent and visibility, like the National School of Art being cascaded down to provinces such as Mpumalanga? If so, please provide details. Thank you, Chair.
You, Honorable Moletsane, Honorable Minister.
Part of the roadmap as we implement the declaration of the school sport in Daba is that the concentration of the high performance centers, how do we make it sure that it goes out of urban areas? In the Western Cape, your Stellenbosch, how does we make sure that in areas such as where you get some of the best rugby players in Poland, you bring it closer to the areas of Drakenstein, in the areas you speak about in Mpumalanga, in the areas of people who come from places such as Njelele, most rural areas in Limpopo. And therefore, part of rolling out the implementation of school sport must, among others, bring back and down to rural areas, high performance areas. So as part of that conversation of school sport in Dabas, which is now going to regions and provinces, it's almost reorientation of how we should go around the issues of facilities that will make sure that talent identification starts from a grassroots level, but also there are facilities that make sure that you don't have all the athletes that must come in one center called Johannesburg or Cape Town because it has got high performance facilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable F. Du Toit. Honorable Du Toit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, what steps were taken between your department and that of the Department of Basic Education and Higher Education to ensure that funding is being made available at all schools to give sufficient attention to school sports? And are there any measuring tools to ensure that educators are equipped to tend to these school sport requirements?
Thank you very much, Honorable Du Toit. Honorable Minister.
You'll be pleased, Honorable Du Toit, to know that part of the conversation is whether you should train the already available educators, or do you need coaches who come from outside? For example, the conversations we have, should we use sports ambassadors? People like Lucas Khadebe, people like Dr. Kumalo, people like former players as coaches. What will that do in terms of your fiscal constraints? Is that an additional budget? Or because of those constraints, must you train those who are already in the system? It's part of that conversation. And it's a very difficult and very important debate to have, because if we are to consider anything outside of the current budget, it may be difficult to motivate, but we hope that the federations and every board of stakeholders involved in the education sector will appreciate whatever decision. Hence, even teacher or educators associations and unions are part of that conversations so that they assist us to implement these resolutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last question, follow-up question, is from Honorable H.S. Boshoff. Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, we've heard quite a lot about school sports and what you are going to do, but you have to agree that the development of sporting excellence in South Africa normally starts at a very young age and at school level. Unfortunately, the power of SARTU has destroyed the hopes of many aspiring athletes in our country. Furthermore, the failure of the Department of Basic Education to facilitate proper transport after sporting activities is the final nail in the coffin. When, Minister, please, this is the answer that we need, will your department engage meaningfully with the Department of Basic Education to rectify these sorry state of affairs and show the communities and schools that you care, because you've said that it actually belongs with communities. So let's start at the beginning with the basics, get that right, and you'll see more and more athletes coming to the fore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Minister.
One of the international benchmarks which was presented at the recently held school sport in Durban, some of the successful sporting nations, we found that actually at a school sport level, in their consultation, they consulted teachers' union. It was through that consultation in Jamaica, we were presented with the Jamaican model, one of the best successful international model. It included teachers' union. You go to Germany, you go to Switzerland, you go to New Zealand, they will tell you the same story. Not because they love or hate the teachers' union, it's a reality that they are there and they are an important stakeholder. We'll continue to consult with them, we'll work with them, they've got a role to play. I don't think it will help us to put them aside because ideologically you don't like unions. The fact of the matter, you have teachers' unions such as SATU and many others that must help you to get the kind of desired results we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That was the last question. You can take your seat. Yeah. Honorable delegates, I would like to thank the Minister, MECs, all permanent and special delegates, and SALGA representatives for availing themselves for the sitting. Honorable delegates, that concludes the business of the day. The House is adjourned.
Recording stopped.